So socio-technical systems thinking, what kind of problems is it actually useful for?
Well, I think it's useful for a whole range of problems. I can tell you about my experience of using it. I think I've typically been drawn into use socio-technical systems thinking, where quite often where an organisation's thinking about introducing a new technology, or where they're looking to make a change to the way things currently work and how they operate, and they might think about usually that will involve some changes to sort of technological side of things. So it might mean that they're going to have a new IT system, or they're going to implement a new process, and there's going to be a whole new way of structuring things, and that process will usually have knock-on impacts on lots of other parts of the organisation. And so they might use socio-technical systems thinking to think about what those changes might be, and in doing so that helps them reduce the risk inherent in some of those changes. So for instance, it might be that an organisation thinks, okay, we're going to have a new HR database, but actually that's going to change the way some information is captured. It's going to change the way some people have to access that information. It's going to mean that some people's jobs change as a result of it, because they're going to spend more time doing some things than they used to and less time doing other things they used to. So that affects their day-to-day job, if you like. It might mean that some people no longer have access to the information that ought to, and that's going to affect their sort of their role and their responsibilities. And those things aren't always necessarily thought through to the extent they ought to be. And sometimes it means that people can look at that system and can just shortcut it and avoid it altogether. And so an organisation might be looking to think, well, how can we make sure that this system is used? So within the university, for instance, we have a database for recording when we submit a publication and it's accepted. Now, the university needs to make sure that we put information into that system, because if we don't, then when we're assessed on how successful the university is in terms of our research and our impact from our research, if all of our publications aren't in that database, the university can't show it all off. But actually, you can do your day job without using that database.
Yes.
It only comes round sort of 3 or 4 years down the line where you realise actually people's publications aren't in that database and they ought to be. And that's an example, but that an illustrative example, but that happens in quite a lot of organisations, where people can actually short circuit the system so they don't have to use the database that's required. But that can negatively impact on the organisational's outcome. And one of the ways that an organisation can improve uptake of a technology or a system or a platform or whatever it is, one way that an organisation can improve uptake is by making it one of the goals that people are assessed against. So include it in their performance metrics.
Yes, because a lot of times when a technology comes in, they don't change the incentives necessarily about using it. And actually, a systems thinking approach will always include what are people assessed.
Yeah, what are the goals? But what I was going to say as well is, and that's absolutely right. So sometimes the goals are really important that we work to. And I've done research with a range of different types of engineers where they were talking about knowledge sharing, and they were talking about how the goals they had were really important, because they were saying, well, I don't need to share information to get my job done. I can. The organisation wants them to share their knowledge and give advice to people, but they don't actually need to perform their job. And so the engineers I was working with were saying, well, I'm not going to go to that extra effort unless there's something in it for me, and there's some sort or that it's somehow part of my performance objectives. So if I can deliver my objectives without sharing knowledge with anyone else, then I will. And so the organisation can put metrics in or create goals that incentivise people to perform in that way. But the double edge, if you like, to that sword is that those goals need to be really thoroughly thought through, so that they don't have inadvertent consequences, adverse consequences.
Right, thank you.